You couldn't ask for a much better season. The Firebirds making a run to the Cape League Championship Series, and it all somehow comes to an end here at Eldridge Park last night. It's a special edition of Firebirds Extra, our season-ending wrap-up show alongside Kevin Fitzgerald. I'm Sam Levitt, and Kev, it was such a great season for this team. What a run into the Cape League title game. They took it to it. It's a tough way to end the season, but this team, they played with desire, they played with passion, really from wire to wire, and it really was a pleasure to watch.
You know what just defines this team? And hey, the championship is great. These guys, unfortunately, comes to a close right here at Eldridge Park last night. The best part about it, and I say it, we've said it all along, this team was 12-17, 13-18. They were sitting 5 games under 500, but playing like they were 10 games over 500. We knew at some point this team was going to catch fire. The leaders that they had in this squad, Ross Kivitt out of Kansas State, Matthew Troop out of Arizona, Zach Fish from Oklahoma State, a guy who unfortunately went home. They had so much potential. They had so much talent. The mindset these guys had on and off the field to make a run after being 5 games under 500. They finished the year 5 games over. They won 8 straight games. They won 15 of 18 games heading into the playoffs. That clinched them, a championship appearance against the Cotuit Kettleers. And, hey, Kelly Nicholson, the manager of this squad, the guys love playing for him. They come out to the park. They love playing for Benny Craig and for Jason Brown and Cassidy Olsen and Kelly as well. They were so close to what could have been Orleans' first championship since 2005. Unfortunately, came short against a good Cotuit team that pitched well down the stretch. You cannot say enough about this team, about what they did at the plate and how the strides that they made in the bullpen, on the mound, at the plate, on and off the field. The tightest group I think that you could have seen throughout the Cape, the whole league.
What Kelly and his staff does is they keep an upbeat attitude.
Absolutely.
The entire season. I think you look at this season, they sat 13-18 in mid-July, and then have this terrific turnaround in the middle part of the season and into the postseason. They finish so hot. They make a run all the way to the title game. You look at players all up and down this roster, whether it be Ross Kivitt or Matt Troop or Austin Davidson, Jordan Betts, anybody in that bullpen or that starting rotation that was so terrific, whether they started the season on a permanent contract or as a temp player, it didn't matter. This team, the thing about them was they gelled so well, it was evident both on and off the field, and so many different guys stepping up into leadership roles, taking accountability, taking ownership of this team and of what it meant to really play in the Cape League, and they made it all the way into the title game, only a couple of wins away from the team's first Cape League title since 2005. And really, you look all around the diamond last night at these guys, and you take your pick, because each and every one of them, they wanted to be here, and they wanted to win.
Sometimes you normally call the best team of the league the team that wins the championship. These guys, that didn't bother them. They were the best team. They call themselves the best team because they had a team attitude from the standpoint of how they work together on and off the field. That's why they called themselves the best team, which I think I totally agree with. It came short. What a terrific series they had. We'll look at the playoffs. We got to do justice. That gritty series they had against Harwich in the first round, losing game 1, battling back. Each of the final 2 games were decided by a run or 2 runs. They won close games. The pitching performances from guys in the postseason like Jeremy Rhodes and Brian Clark. These guys locked down when they needed to on the mound. Guys up at the plate like a Jeff DeGrode who caught fire. A Will Fulmer and someone like an Austin Davidson who was just hitting double after double after double. They come back. They beat Harwich. They take on Chatham. They're Eastern Division rivals in the Cape League Championship. I think everybody was happy to see them take down the Chatham A's in a 2-game sweep. And again, they do it in come-from-behind fashion. In Game 2 right here at Eldridge, they clinch it, and they head to the Cape League Championship, Sam.
You talk about the playoff run. I think you look no further than they lose Game 1 against Harwich in the first round. This team, instead of packing it in, instead of backing down, they came back, won 2 nail-biters, the one at Harwich in Game 2 where Matt Troop holds on to get the save and win that game 4-3, and then they come back to Eldridge. The bullpen does such an amazing job of winning that game, holding on to the lead. This team so resilient. They then go and sweep rival Chatham. We know that was pretty sweet for Kelly and for everybody on this team. Play their hearts out against the Cotuit Kettleers. And talking to Kelly yesterday, the one thing he said to us was, you don't let 2 games decide what your summer was about.
No way.
And over the last 2 days, sure, were the Firebirds probably outplayed by the Kettleers in most facets of the game? Yeah, I mean, the Kettleers were very good. They deserved to win this series for sure. But, again, you don't let 2 games dictate how your summer is remembered. And I think these guys will be remembered as possibly the best team Kelly Nicholson has had since that 2005 team that won the championship, no doubt.
From a character standpoint, I agree. And these playoffs, Sam, they were filled with highlight after highlight, I think.
The 2-2 to Marcancini. Fastball hitting the air down the left field line. Fisher going back to the track. He looks up, and this one is out of here. A solo home run for Chris Marcancini.
2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Inning over. Clark strands the bases loaded. Firebirds still up 1-0.
Fastball hit through the right side into right field, the base hit. Comby comes in to score. Conlon being waved around. He'll score as well. A 2 RBI single for Austin Davidson. The Firebirds take a 7-3 lead here in the top of the 8th inning. And the Firebirds a strike away from sending this one to Game 3. The 1-2 from Troop. Fastball on the outside corner, strike 3. We will see you tomorrow night in Orleans.
Troop set. The 0-2 pitch with 2 away. Fastball swing and a miss. The Firebirds back to the Cape League Championship for the first time since 2005. They fly past the Chatham A's 2-0 in the Eastern Division Finals.
Back here on the Firebirds Extra Wrap-Up Show at Eldridge Park, we're joined now by the hitting coach of the Orleans Firebirds, Benny Craig, joining myself and Kevin Fitzgerald at Eldridge. Benny, such a great run for this team in 2013. What were the memories and the moments you're going to take away and remember from this season?
All of them. When these guys first get here and we pass out uniforms and have our first couple of workouts and put our signs in place, those are your first impressions, and I'm going to remember quite a bit from that. But the way we finished, the stretch down at the end, you guys were here. I'm definitely going to remember that because we had some injuries. Some guys went home, and guys who weren't in there all year really stepped up and got us to the championship series. So that's probably going to be something I think about for quite a while.
I mean, Benny, you mentioned it before. We talked about this all season. The chemistry with this team on and off the field, it seemed like these guys were having just as much fun in the clubhouse, off the field, as they were on the field. Was this the tightest knit group you think you've seen in a long time? What was it about this team that had them click so well on and off the field?
Well, they were a tight group, and in my experience here, all the teams have been a tight group, and I think that's because of Sue and our front office and Coach Kelly and all the host families. They provide a really good experience for these players. You know, when they come out here and they've been taking classes and 6 a.m. weights and trying to get to Omaha, and things go their way or they don't, and then all of a sudden they're in this new environment. They're in a basement they've never slept in before. There's radar guns going up. There's agents coming in. You have to make it fun, and this group did really have fun this summer. Last night after our post-game meal, I had several players come up and say this was the best year of my life. So this one, it was special. They've all been special, but I think the way these guys did come together, you could see it in the clubhouse, in the dugout, on the bus for the away games, and even after games when you kind of want to get out of here, get a meal and go to bed. Guys were still here smiling, patting each other on the back, and those little things, a lot of people you don't read about in the paper or see, but it was pretty special.
Yeah, and extra hitting work with yourself at 1 a.m. in the morning. We heard stories about that all throughout the summer, Sam.
Well, these guys, they swear by you, and you're out for early work every day. We know you care a lot about these guys and what they do at the plate, how they take what you tell them and what they work on in early work and then bring it out to the plate during gameplay. What's the one thing that you saw overall from these hitters, from this team, that really you like this season and how they progress throughout the course of these 50 or so games?
Well, there's a lot, but to narrow it down to a couple things. At the end of every game, I want these players to realize they need to properly evaluate those 4 or 5 at bats. Take the good and address the bad, and then go be a son, a brother. Down the road they'll be a husband or what have you, but. They need to properly evaluate so they could get some sleep and come to the yard ready to work. And it's no different for me. At the end of every summer, I try to properly evaluate what went well, what worked, what we could have done better. So to answer your question, we talked a lot about vision this year, about seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hand, knowing that the lights are going to be suspect, knowing that there's not always going to be batter's eye, but they're going to be swinging wood bats against Friday night pitching, which is, kind of like rookie ball, low A, and at times high A pitching. And you could have the prettiest swing in the country, but if they don't see the ball, they're in trouble. So we'd bring out this small, almost white-looking hockey puck baseball, and then we'd bring out a regular baseball, and you could see the difference in size. And I said, hey, some nights it's going to look like this. But your job is to take a pitch or two until your eyes adjust. You're going to have 4 or 5 at-bats, so use that first at-bat. And at first, I think the players were kind of like, when I take a strike, coach, that's one more strike closer to, 3 strikes striking out. And I go, yes, but, we'd show them footage of Joey Votto choking up. I got pictures of Hank Aaron choking up, Pete Rose choking up. And I think they finally bought into it. A coach from Chatham, Alex Coco, who I go back a little ways with from UCLA, he says, your guys are buying into 2-strike approaches, aren't they? And I said, yeah. And he goes, yeah, it shows. And so whether they get a hit or they, have a 6, 7, 8 pitch at bat, that does wonders for their confidence. It gets into their bullpen, and it helps them out the next at bat.
It's Benny Craig here with us on the final Firebirds Extra Wrap-Up Show live from Eldridge Park. It was a tough finish of the season. You guys made a championship run. Fell short 2-0, swept by the Cotuit Cavaliers, but I don't think that speaks to what you guys did during the regular season. You guys went on that 8-game hitting streak. You ended strong, and a lot of that had to do with, I think one of the best storylines about the Cape is that you have players that come up here on temporary contracts. They make teams and they produce. I think the Firebirds had a few of those, a few arms, and Bobby Pointer and Trent Skutnick, and also a couple bats up at the plate. Guys like Jeff DeGroat out of UMass Lowell. The guy finishes the season on a 9-game hitting streak in the playoffs as well. Will Fulmer, after suffering an injury, sticks around for 2.5 weeks, and once he's put as the number 2 hitter for the majority portion of the second half of the year, you guys were on a roll. What impressed you most about those two guys and how they came from whether a Division II program or a UMass Lowell, and they stood their ground, playing against those Friday night starters like you mentioned?
Well, you talked about Cotuit there and these guys and how they performed and quite a bit right there, Kevin. What I would say is, I'd tie it into this. It was cool to see the players and coaches up here respond.
Right.
Cotuit, you got to take your hat off to them. When they got in tough situations, instead of panicking, they responded. It was their pitchers on the mound, their defense, their hitters, the small ball, you name it. Guys responded up here, and you could see it in the other dugouts. I don't just watch our players. I pay attention to the other guys and coaches in the dugout, and some do it really well up here, and some, they react versus respond. When I think of Fulmer getting hurt and how he responded to that, we talked about a little bit earlier in the year, he was as good a teammate as anybody, and he had crutches under his arms the whole time.
Right.
He's up here feeding guys in early work with crutches. He's limping down with his crutches, bringing balls and asking, hey, do we have the ground force reaction? I can't say enough nice things about Will Fulmer. Then when he was healthy, he contributed offensively, defensively, with 2 strikes. Just his body language alone, he's a quiet leader. He leads by example. You talked about DeGroat. DeGroat told me the first week when he got up here, he goes, Coach, get me in there. I will contribute to this team. He didn't talk about home runs or doubles or stolen bases or, stats. He just said, I will help this team win.
Right. And
he backed up his word big time. I mean, I can't tell you how many clutch hits had, the hit and run against Chatham, the lasers he hit last night, and then the throws he made from the outfield.
Right.
He almost caught that home run. And I mean, you hate to sit here and talk about an almost, but God, most guys don't even get to that ball. So I can't say enough nice things about DeGroat as well.
You talked about it. The timely hitting in the final part of this season, the last 20 games or so, was such a key part of this team's success in the midseason turnaround that propelled you guys into the Cape League Championship Series. How nice was it to see as this season progressed into the middle portion and then into the final portion that guys, pretty much everybody 1 through 9 in that lineup was contributing, was hitting with runners in scoring position, and when you had opportunities to drive runners in, for the most part, you were getting them in and winning games. It was a huge part of this team's success.
You're right, and that's the most beautiful thing about baseball, in my opinion, is you never know when you're going to get called in and what role that's going to be. Everybody would like to be the front-end starter, the 3-hitter, the shortstop, the first-round draft pick, but when you get into the Giants' success or the Cardinals' success last year, Scudero coming over from Boston goes off. With the Red Sox, David Roberts stolen base that year. So people want to talk about the 3-hitter and the big bombs, but it's those little things that add up. So with our guys this year and the roles they played like that, I can't tell you how many times our guys come in and off the bench gave us quality at bats.
Yeah.
And you would think, it was going to be Luplow every night or Davidson every night or Kivett every night. And those guys gave us 4 or 5 quality at bats every night. But there was, during that stretch that got us into second place, that kind of got us on a roll and carried us into the playoffs, there were nights when it was Vince Conde, hitting a double with 2 outs and a 1-run ball game and driving in 2 runs. There were nights when Riley Moore was getting pitched to away, and he made the adjustment his 3rd or 4th at bat and shot a double down the left field line. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't always our 3-4 hitter. So it was every night we started slowly, we're hitting each other in the dugout and in the clubhouse going, who's it going to be tonight? It's going to be somebody different. And I could, it was the same thing with our pitchers. Brian Clark came in the playoffs there when it was crunch time.
High intensity. You need to get some outs.
and he looked like a seasoned veteran. I mean, I think he would have got big leaguers out that night, the way he was commanding his fastball, attacking the zone, good tempo. And, you start asking me about pitchers, I go on and on and on, because we needed guys to go out there and shut teams down. And for a while there, it was a different guy every night.
Then I'm glad you brought that up. The progression of certain players, whether it's pitchers or guys up at the plate, because you're totally correct. It seemed like every night someone else, like Sam, you mentioned it, before, somebody would pick up someone else. Someone on that team would pick up somebody if someone had a bad night at the plate. Or there was always someone different who came up clutch. Whether it was a Jordan Luplow with his home run cuts up at the plate. I mean, this guy swings the bat harder. Someone like Zach Fish who can put a jolt into the baseball. Or a Ross Kivett who I think set the table for this team in that run. Which players in particular, whether it's maybe like a Connor Harbor out in the bullpen who came up here late and was only here for a few weeks, which players you think progressed the most, from day one when they got here to now at the end of the season? Now they're heading back to college ball.
I'd like to say all of them. Obviously, some guys put in a little bit more time than others, but you could really carve it up if you spend a lot of time. Some of our guys who were not here maybe doing 2 hours of early work. We're here working with young kids in camp, and that speaks volumes about them. And they would stay after in the heat or the rain and get their swings in. So, Connor shows up. And with his long gold hair, we called him Thor. Every time he got in the cage, he swung the bat like it was Thor's hammer. Yeah. And it was tough because we have these guys who are on full contract, guys who've been here all summer, and we want to give them their at-bats. But Connor really put us in a situation that we're going, hey, we might need to give this guy some at-bats. He's a legit two-way player. He's going back to Western Nevada. And the thing I remember about Connor is not his arm, his size. Every day at the field and after the game, he would simply look in and say, hey, coaches, what can I do? Is there anything that needs to be done? And it was genuine. That's a coach's dream. When we're looking around and guys want to get out of here or other guys are dragging their head, he wanted to help this team out. And I hope they bring him back next year, and I hope the draft's kind to him. But as far as guys throughout the year progressing, they all did.
Right.
Whether it was Slay working on his swing or guys in the outfield working on their jumps or guys working on bunting. We had a bunting competition up here. Coach Nick makes it fun for these guys. He chalked out points and let the teams divide up. And I think competitive games like that get the competitive juices going. And, Ross Kivett was a huge guy to have on this team. He comes up here. You guys saw it. He hit about 16 rocket balls in 4 games to go 0 for 16. And I think I would have, looking back when I was a 20-year-old kid, after 0 for 8, I probably would have broke a bunch of bats and thrown a bunch of helmets. But he just kept going out and taking that major league swing. And it was, I believe, at Falmouth where he got 3 or 4 hits. And from then on, it was the Ross Kivett show. And several players picked up the team on their back, but if you had to say one guy did it, I thought Kivett. This team really fed off of Kivett's energy. There was, every time the ball was hit on the ground, he was running down the first baseline with his hair on fire. He tried to turn every single into a double. And what I was most impressed about him is I thought he was an infielder, and he's in the outfield and he's throwing people out. That throw from the left field line from Katuitt the other night would have been probably the top play of any ESPN segment. What'd you think?
He was the spark plug. I mean, he was the guy.
Two separate 11-game hitting streaks this season for Kivett, and like you said, whether it was out in the field, around the base paths, the fire, the energy was the key that I saw from someone like Ross
Sam.
Sam.
Tone. We talked about it last night. I mean, Kivett, if there's one guy you can look at and say he put the team on his back, like you said, and
just a genuine energy, I think is the key.
What a talent, and goes out there and hustles his butt off every single day. I mean, what more can you ask for, right?
Right.
Benny Craig joining us right now on the Firebirds Extra Wrap-Up Show. And, Benny, before we let you go, this was your 5th season up on the Cape. We got to ask you now, summer number 6 next year?
Lucky number 6.
I'd love to come back. Coach Nicholson and Coach Brown, they've been here the 5 years I've been at Kel obviously before him, but I've been fortunate enough to coach alongside Jason Brown. I cannot say enough nice things about Jason, and anybody you talk to up here will say the same thing, the players included. The players that I try to stay in touch with all of them. I get texts from Reed Gragnani and Conrad Greger and guys from the past, and they always put in there, say hi to Bub. We call Brownie Bub. Say hi to Bub. How's Brownie doing? Those guys wish Brownie could just go throw batting practice to them wherever they're at because he throws the best big league pearl consistent batting practice. Coach Nicholson has really made us feel comfortable up here. He lets us work with these guys. He doesn't control us too much. He kind of says, hey, you guys know what you're doing. If we need to have a side talk about a guy or what we need to see more out of a guy, we'll have that up in the clubhouse. But in 5 summers, he's really taken the reins off and let Jason and I do what we want to do up here with the players. And I think the players really appreciate that. So as far as the summer 6, that would be wonderful. Cass Olsen, who you guys got to meet,
what a guy!
Here.
Right, what a guy!
And at the short time he was up here, the players immediately hit it off with Cass. We've had several great assistants up here who've gone on to other jobs. They coach back east or coach here in the east or coach back west. But Cass, in 5 summers that I've seen up here, I just wish we had him the whole time, but obviously he's got priorities with his wife and his family. He's got a son on the way, but hopefully Daniela will let Cass come back next summer because I know the players, the Firebirds of next year would really like to have Cass back.
Well, Cass, if you're watching, we hope the baby is well and that you're doing well back in California. Benny, it's been a great season, summer number 2 here with you. Thank you for everything, and go enjoy the West Coast this week.
Terrific work. These guys, like we've said before, they love working with you. He's got the good energy. This is where the team gets the energy from. This guy in the dugout.
Well,
all
I appreciate
season.
that. I want to say one parting thing about you guys. When the players come out here and they get these uniforms and Axis bats and take BP to music every day, and they take some ownership on the field and their clubhouse, and they realize this is a nice little 44-game taste of what minor league baseball is like. And every day that you guys interview them, you guys make them feel like big leaguers. And it's not just because you interview them. You guys ask the right questions. You're students of the game, and you pick up the little things, whether it's offense, defense, or a clutch play or something. And I know when the players come back in the dugout and sit down, they want to play baseball more because of this experience in Orleans. Of course,
and we try as much as we can just to put them in the right environment, I guess.
Exactly, but they appreciate it, and I appreciate what you guys do up here.
Thank you.
And it's just been a pleasure working with you two guys. I hope you guys come back for your summer 3, but you'll probably be on to bigger and better things.
Hey, it's tough to top a summer like this. A great season, though, definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Benny. Well, we say goodbye to the 2013 season Firebirds Extra wrap-up show continuing from Eldridge Park. 1-2 the count, the pitch. Fastball hit high in the air, deep left center field. English going back at the track, at the wall. He reaches up, and this one is gone. A grand slam for Jordan Betts.
It's a line drive off the bat of T.J. White into deep center field. Kivett racing back, dives, and snow cones. He makes the grab. Vertical at the last second. The Kansas State outfielder makes the catch. That's a terrific play for out number 1.
Back here on the Firebirds Extra Wrap-Up Show, live from Eldridge Park alongside Kevin Fitzgerald, Sam Levitt, as we tie a bow on the 2013 season. It sure was a great one. And before we really wrap things up and put this season to rest, Kevin, so many great moments throughout this season, whether it be on the mounds, at the plate, in the field, big play after big play from this team. What's the one moment you're going to remember from this season?
You know what I think it was? Just the pitching was dominant on this team, and what really stands out is when you have guys that come in that maybe you don't look at them as, hey, they're going to be a key contributor, but down the stretch, this pitching staff, its rotation was dominant. Trent Skutnik out of Michigan, this a left-hander who didn't have the best of springs this past year, comes in and dominates in an environment he said he loved. He loved playing the closest thing to pro ball that you possibly could have had. Didn't have to worry about schoolwork. Got to work in his curveball. He's going to bring that pitch back to Michigan and dominate with it. Bobby Pointer comes up on a temporary contract from Florida. A sub-2 ERA. The guy was like just a motor on the mound. Didn't stop. He worked so quickly. Jared Miller, a reliever for Vanderbilt, is now going to go back there as a starter after having dominant start after dominant start, shutout performances. Corey Miller leads the Cape League and wins the right-hander of Pepperdine. I think it was just the pitching staff that was, because it was so great, it just stood out as one of the best elements of this team and what brought them to a championship, no doubt.
I think the moments that stick out to me in this postseason run, those performances out of the bullpen. Look, Game 2 against Harwich in round 1, Matt Troop, the 50-pitch, 6-out save. Game 3 the next night, Brian Clark, with Troop unavailable, comes in and closes out the game in a tight nail-biter 2-run game. And then Jeremy Rhodes against Chatham, the big strikeout of J.D. Davis late in that game. That bullpen came up time after time, and I think without him, I don't know if they make it to the Cape League Finals. So
it was the pitching that did this team.
I mean, there's so many others. Take your pick. The doubles from Austin Davidson, the hustle from Ross Kivett, the great plays in center field by Jeff DeGroat and Luplo and Fish and all these guys. They played so hard. They made great plays. And certainly so many different memories to take away from this season. There's almost too much to count.
Terrific year, and it's capped off by appearance in the championship game. It's tough to do, especially down the stretch when guys are getting tired. They've been playing since January. They started their college season in the winter, and they make it here. They said it yesterday. Our goal was to play until August 15th. We don't want to go home. We wanted to play August 15th. Was a championship game, was a championship appearance. They accomplished that. Came out a little bit short, but they won't forget these memories, no doubt.
Well, Kelly Nicholson very proud of how this team played in 2013. It sure was a fun ride, and we thank everybody from Sue Horton to the entire organization, Kelly, his staff, the players, for a great season, our second summer on the Cape. And we say farewell to the 2013 season one final time from Eldridge Park for Kevin Fitzgerald and everybody here with the Orleans Firebirds. Have a great winter, a great offseason. We'll see you in 2014.